Girls and non-binary pals. And welcome back to another episode of SavvyCat ASMR. I'm Sav.
And I'm Kat.
You blew my eardrums.
Good, deserved.
Anyway.
Welcome back. Hello.
Hello. I hope you enjoyed the new intro.
Yeah.
So we've been gone for a little bit because life. Hey, Jinx, Jinx, shut the fuck up. My podcast now. So we've been lifing, which also comes down to I forgot to book the podcast studio, and and then we went away to Montenegro for a bit, which Kat has many stories to tell, but unfortunately she can't speak right now because I jinxed her. So I have to say your name 2 more times, don't I?
Yeah.
Flick. All right, I'll let you out. Cat.
Thank you.
There you go.
Yes, I have stories to tell about Montenegro.
Which we kept calling Gibraltar for way too long.
They're not the same place.
They're
Don't call
not
it
the same place. It's because we went to see Kat's mom, and for ages the place we went to see her in Gibraltar first, but we planned that like months and months in advance. So every time we talked about going to see her mom, we were like, when we go to Gibraltar, to the point where it became habit. So now every time we talk about her mom, we say Gibraltar, which is not at all where she is.
No, she's in Montenegro now.
Habits, man. What's the old habits die hard?
Yeah.
Is that the same?
Can't teach a dog new tricks.
Can't teach an old dog new tricks.
No, can't teach any dog. Yeah, so we went to Montenegro for about like 4
days. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. 4 days.
And we went to a bunch of places.
Yeah, I kept thinking it was like a city because we moved so much.
We went to like three places in a day.
Yeah, and I don't usually travel that much unless it's like within one city. So
yeah.
I keep getting really confused being like, we're just moving to different parts of the city.
Yeah. So Podgorica was where we landed.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Starry Bar.
Starry means like old. So like old bar.
Mm-mm.
And then Sutamore and Kotor.
Yeah.
Those were the places we went.
Yeah.
I don't know how well versed you guys are with Montenegrin geography, but yeah, that's kind of the route that we went.
Yeah.
And it's a fucking beautiful country.
It's beautiful. Some of it by the lake, like in Kotor, it was really, really beautiful. But at nighttime with the big hills, it kind of just looked like the world ended in front of us.
Yeah, it's one of those places where it was so pretty and beautiful. I thought it was a set.
Yeah.
Half the time I was there.
It felt like a set because it's surrounded entirely by big grey mountains.
Yeah,
You're very, very enclosed. And so it very much is like, this could totally be a movie set.
It's a dome.
It's a dome. They could totally put a dome over this and we would like not know.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, no, it very beautiful, very good for vegan food, I found. Wasn't the best, but like much better than I thought.
Much better than I was expecting.
Yeah.
Considering other places in Europe I've been that have not been as good.
Yeah. And they were very understanding on what vegan meant.
Yes.
Which is good.
Yes. I will recommend to everyone who is vegan or even vegetarian, the Happy Cow app is genuinely a lifesaver. I've had it for like 7 years now. I think it's a one-time purchase. When I bought it, it was like $8, so like £4. I think it might be a little bit more now, maybe less. I don't know. But basically, like, it's like TripAdvisor. Not really. It's like a map, and it shows you like where you are, all the places near you that have vegan food, and it gives you a list in like order of distance, and you can filter it to being like entirely vegan places, entirely vegetarian places, and then places with just options. And you can drag the map and put like a pin somewhere and it'll show you everything in that radius, and you could set how long you want the radius, and you like write reviews and stuff. So like you can go to a place that's been like, you know, I'll find a place. I'm like, well, this has like 55-star reviews, so I'm sure it's good.
Yeah.
And reading the reviews and people post the menus and stuff sometimes, it's really, really helpful. It's saved my ass traveling so many times.
And it was very useful here.
Yeah, very useful here, being like which places have options. Because as we say, it was very good for vegan food, but we also knew where to go.
Yeah, absolutely. But we just traveled. I saw my mum. My mum has started a travel thing account.
Travel, like an Instagram.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
Breakaway Brave Hearts. There's some photos of our trip on there if you want to check it out. But yeah, I really liked... My favorite thing about Montenegro is the animals.
Yeah.
There are so many animals.
So many animals.
Everywhere. Like cats and dogs, primarily cats, but also a lot of dogs. Just half of my memories from this trip were just cats and dogs.
Most of my photos were of cats and dogs.
But they have a very big street animal population. I wouldn't say it's a problem.
It is a problem. Yeah. It's much better now because there's like an organization that comes and spays them, but up until like only a few years ago, they were treated very, very poorly.
Yeah.
It's a thing of like once street animals stop being neutered, they stop being treated as much of a problem.
Yeah. It was a problem. It's better now.
Yeah.
Now it's more of a population kind of thing. But yeah, wherever we went, there was always a cat or a dog following us. Very well looked after cats and dogs. Like they were fat and lovely and just came up and cuddled you. And
at one point there was we were sitting under a tree.
Oh yeah.
And I sat down next to Kat and we were sitting under this tree, and then something fell from the sky and I was like, what the fuck was that? And I looked on this ground and this like chunk of sausage was on the ground. I'm like, how is there a sausage on the ground? Why did a sausage fall from the fucking sky? And then I look up and there's this cat sitting directly above us. And I'm like, oh, I think...
Just looking very sad.
I think she dropped her sausage. And so I go and like stab it with a stick. And the tree's quite high. So I've like got this sausage on the end of the stick, like on my toes, trying to reach the cat. And she like... crawls down and she's like, it was very like a movie when you're like reaching up to grab a hand. She's like clinging onto the tree, stretching her paw out as far as she can. I'm stretching this fucking sausage stick, and there's still like this much gap between the sausage and this cat's paw, and I'm like, I can't get any higher. And then baby. Yeah, so then she managed to get a little bit lower, but she wasn't on a branch anymore, so she fell on the ground and she grabbed it in her mouth and then climbed back up the tree, and I was like, please don't drop it again.
The reason why she was up on the tree was these two puppies.
Yeah.
Who were very cute, but also menaces.
Yeah, they were like 6-month-old, like Labrador crosses.
So, of course, what 6-month-old puppies want to do is say hello to a cat that does not want to say hello back. Mm-hmm. So the poor cat was stuck up the tree with her sausage that was now covered in dirt.
As these little... puppies, because the puppies weren't there when we found her, but then they came back and then they were under the tree. As soon as she
fell out of the tree,
they saw her.
The puppies were like, yum.
And then we're at the bottom of the tree, like barking at her, and we were like, no, little puppies, no.
Yeah,
they were lovely.
We had a guide dog in a.
That was so
spiritual,
so strange. We called this dog like the dog from House Moving Castle because like
it looked exactly like the dog.
It looks exactly like the dog. And what happened was like we were walking towards this like restaurant, and this little dog was there, and it saw us, and you know it got up and like walked in front of us and then stopped, and we went into the restaurant. He went back to where he was when we started. We came out of the restaurant, we walked up, we got to the dog again. He stood up and he was like, all right, and then just like walked exactly where we were planning on going, and we followed him. And every time we like stopped, he would stop and like look at us, and we were like, okay. And we followed this dog, and like then we were like, okay, what happens if we change direction? We changed direction and he followed us, but then he was like going in front of us. We were just like following this dog.
Yeah, it was basically like, no, don't go this way, go this way.
Yeah,
but then we got up to this one building that was it's an old town, so the buildings were, they're historical sites, they're very much rubble now. Got up to this one old building, the roof was caved in, it was barely even a room. Yeah, it had kind of like 4 barely walls. And he just sat there, and we were like,
okay.
And then he just didn't move.
He stayed there while we went and like sat with this cat and stuff. And then when we got up and turned around to go back, he was still waiting for us, and then just walked with us again.
Yeah, just out of the
just walked with us out of the compound. And then when we didn't keep following it back to its house, it was like, all right, well, I guess bye. But it was so odd because at some point it did go off in a different direction. We didn't follow it. And then like 5 minutes later, she just appeared again. Like,
why weren't you
following me? Because he disappeared. And we were like, okay, the dog is just like, you know, gone back. It's gone on its own little walk. And we walked like 5 minutes in a different direction. And then it just came and appeared again. Yeah. And so we were like, okay, we're meant to follow this dog. Yeah. We have to follow this dog now.
And it was weird because like, we were carrying leftovers for the restaurant. Not once did it ask for food. Not once did it even appear.
Didn't even smell the food.
Didn't smell the food. Didn't even actually come up to us. It was just like around us, leading us somewhere.
Yeah.
And then it just sat.
Yeah.
And stared at us. And it was exactly what the dog from the House Moving Castle dog looks like.
Yeah.
Like exactly.
It was super weird.
It was really weird. But yeah, that was our guide dog.
The guide. Yeah. Super weird. But I loved him.
I loved him.
Yeah. But yeah, so we were only there for a few days. Which was cool. It's cool being in Europe in the sense that like it's easy to travel places. Yeah. Like this is a country that's objectively rather far away from where we are. Like many countries over. You have to fly over a ton of countries to get there, and it's still closer than Australia is to New Zealand.
Yeah.
It's still closer. A lot of people seem to think that Australia is really close to New. It's not. The shortest flight you can get is like 3.5 hours. Yeah. It is not close.
No.
And it's expensive. This only cost us like what, £120 or something.
It was like 25. It was £25 to the flight there.
Yeah, the airport
and then
was
like £75 to the flight back.
Yeah, so like not very expensive, especially so like in total, like I think like £100, £130 or something. Yeah.
And that's for both of us.
That's for both of us, and that's return.
Yeah.
Whereas a flight to Australia costs just one way like £200.
Yeah.
So
we're very much grateful for the experiences that we have.
Well, like we're going to Paris on Monday for a concert. Like the fact that we can go to Paris for a concert like easily, it's a 2-hour fucking train, is so wild. Because I mean, when I lived in New Zealand, I went to Australia for concerts a couple of times, but that's much more expensive and much harder to do. You can't just get on a train. You have to book really expensive flights and stuff.
Yeah, and it's so cool that like, you know, I've never been to Paris. I've never been to France. And Paris is one of those places that everybody is like, you have to go to Paris.
Have to go to Paris.
It's Paris, London, like Tokyo. Like these are the places New York. Everybody goes to these places. When you talk about travel, it's pretty much like those 4 cities.
Yeah.
And it's really cool that I can literally get on a train and go to Paris.
Yeah.
That's a wild fucking... Granted, it's terrifying that it's under the water.
Yeah, it's
Don't like
scary.
That. But it's fucking cool. That's fucking cool. And like the fact that, I don't know, we're going to a city that's like so much older than either of us could even comprehend. Because even coming from New Zealand is young. It is so young. And
as far as just people.
Yeah. And even like animals, you know, like it's nothing was in New Zealand when like France was already having like a established fucking city.
There are buildings that we have seen that are like were built hundreds of years before a human ever stepped foot in New Zealand, before a mammal, before there was a single mammal in New Zealand. There are were buildings built here that still exist.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. And the fact that, you know, we walk down the street on like the stones that like, you know.
Yeah.
Military from like 1,000 years ago walked down. That's fucking, like people have been walking on the same stones that we were walking down for thousands of years. That's ridiculous. And the fact that we can just literally just go is it's fucking insane. It hurts my head.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I was saying, Paris is a place that, you know, everybody says you have to go at some point in your life. But then we can also go to Montenegro.
Yeah.
Which is a place that I'm going to be completely honest, I don't know much about. I don't really know anything about Montenegro. And I don't know. Yeah, but we just went, and that's fucking...
It's so cool.
So cool. It's so cool.
There's you can just get a random flight
Yeah.
And be somewhere completely different in like an hour or two.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. It's fucking...
And it's cheaper than flying domestically in New Zealand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And honestly, sometimes quicker. It's so fucking wild. But like, yeah. And going on a train under the water, I've done this train before. I have gone to Paris one time when I was 17. So I've been on this train before, and it's still so baffling to me that they can build a train under the water, and not just like recently. This is an old train line. This train has been going for a long time. Also, this brings up a question I have real quick, just because I'm now getting confused about dreams and reality really quickly. When we were telling your mom we were taking the train to Paris, she acted like surprised that train existed.
Yeah.
She was like, how does that work?
Yeah.
That's the thing she said,
Yeah,
right?
she did.
Didn't she get that train to come see us?
Yeah.
I remember her showing us video being like, I had to show this at school, being like, yeah, this train goes underwater. You just drive. That's a thing that happened, right?
Yeah, no, she took the train to drop off my chair.
Yeah, she's already been on this train, right? Like twice, because she had to get back.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Because I was really confused when she was like, how does that work? You're getting a train?
I was
that
confused
like?
too, don't worry.
Okay, great. And so then I was sitting here like, did I imagine that conversation?
No, you didn't.
Did that not happen?
No, it was a weird conversation.
Okay, so she just forgot that she went on the train twice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think she didn't comprehend that we could go without a car, which makes no sense.
She was on the person train, just on the back, right? Or
no, she was in her car.
Yeah, no, I know, but it's like the same. Is it the same train?
Yeah, no,
it's the same
it's
train.
The same
She's just on a different part.
She just didn't realize, I think, that passengers could go. Which
that doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make any sense.
How does that work? The same way as it worked when you.
Yeah, no, I don't. It was a weird conversation.
Okay, I'm glad that you also. Okay, I see. My dreams are reality based, and I sometimes have to ask questions of like, was this real or was it a dream? And half the time it was a dream. So
you've been having weird dreams recently, though.
I know, it's odd
because I've always had my entire life, every single night I have the most vivid, weird fucking dreams. Like, I can't even express you how fucking weird they are. Like, last night, what did I dream about? Last night I dreamt that I was friends with a bat, and we were underneath the ocean, and there was a colony of like opposite bats that lived in the town over.
Opposite bats?
Like villain bats. Like,
right. Okay.
Antagonist bats. And basically me and this bat had to travel across the ocean, but I couldn't swim because I didn't know how to move. So I was like going through tar, and I had to get to the other bats on the other side, and they were like, their eyes were glowing pink.
It's like from Epic.
Yeah, it is like Epic.
Everything always comes back to Epic.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
No.
In my head, everything comes back to Epic.
But that was the dream that I had last night, is I had to get to this, like the villain bats with my friend bat, and it was underwater and I couldn't swim.
Nice.
Yeah. So those are my dreams, which is obviously I don't get those confused with.
I usually have dreams that are just, I'm sitting in the lounge and we're having a conversation. That's my entire dream.
Which honestly sounds scarier than that. I don't like that.
So like the best example I have of a dream that has been confused with the reality that's happened recently was the soup. So
I still have
so basically, back in like December, had this conversation with Kat where we were like, I was going to put the blender in the washing machine. I was going to put the blender in the dishwasher, and Kat was like, oh, you should take the bottom off. It's easier to clean. And I was like, oh, I didn't know you could take the bottom of the blender off. She's like, no, yeah, they make it so you can take the bottom of the blender off so it's easy to clean. I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then you like showed me how to take the bottom of the blender off and you put it in two halves. I was like, okay, well, noted. And then that was a conversation that I had. And that was like that was a normal conversation. I didn't think anything of it. And then a couple weeks later, Kat is making soup. And so obviously she put like the hot soup in the blender and like turn on the blender. She takes the blender off the blender stand thing, and the bottom comes off and hot soup goes everywhere. She's got a scar on her thumb from it, and obviously that fucking hurt and was awful because we had hot soup all over our floor. And she was like, I had no idea the bottom of the blender came off. Why does it do that? And I was like, I played along. I didn't want to be like, you totally knew. That felt very insensitive. So I did. I didn't want to like say anything because like, but so I was like, yeah, that doesn't make sense. I don't know why it would do that. I had no idea that it did that. But like in my head, I was like, I spent days being like, what the fuck did she mean? She didn't know the bottom of the blender came off. She literally told me 2 fucking weeks ago that the bottom came off. Is she just like acting so she doesn't look stupid? Like, what's happening? Why did she? And then like after, you know, the wound wasn't so fresh, it had been a few weeks, I brought it up. I'm like, I've realized something. And I realize now that maybe I had a dream, but before this happened with the blender, we had this conversation where you told me that the bottom came off, and she's like, that never happened. I had no idea the bottom of the blender came off.
Never, that conversation never happened.
But it's so strange because I also didn't know the bottom of the blender came off like that. So I don't know how in my dream you told me a fact that I didn't know.
Maybe your brain was like, through the process of logic, because it does make logical sense.
It does make sense, yeah.
Because it doesn't make sense that you have to stick your entire hand out to clean the fucking blade like we were doing.
It's so funny because, like, since this, we still haven't taken the bottom off.
I'm not taking that off. No, I'm not risking that again.
Yeah. So those are my dreams. There's been multiple examples of that where, like, I'm with Kat and I'm talking about this thing and I'll bring up a conversation that we've had or something, and she's like, that didn't happen. And I'm like, I fucking swear it happened, clear as day. We were like walking down the street one time.
You were pissed at my mom.
I was pissed at your mom because she said something and it was so out of character. We were talking about like people changing or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, like when your mom said this thing, and she's like, my mom never fucking said that. And I'm like, you were telling me about it 2 days ago. We were walking down this street. It was like 10 p.m. We were going to get our Red Bull. You were telling me about it. And we had this whole conversation about it. And she...
Sorry. It was 10 p.m. We were going to get our Red Bull. It's a wild statement.
I'm just going to pretend I didn't say that. But anyway, and I was like telling her, I was like, yeah, we had this conversation. She's like, Sav, that didn't happen. I'm like, it was 2 days ago, Kat. You have a bad memory. She's like, that's not, if my mom did say that, I would be pissed. Yeah. But she didn't say that. I was like, what do you mean? And this happens regularly. And so like, I don't know what's stored in my head that isn't real. It can be a bit disorienting. The other day I went through this whole crisis of like, because this has happened so many times recently, I went through this crisis of like, what is real? What is real? Yeah. Sometimes I can differentiate it because something will be wrong. Like I had a dream that felt very realistic until we were at Nick and Jess's wedding, and I was like, okay, so this obviously isn't real. Or like it'll be set in our house and it's very normal, but then like my mom's there and I'm like, okay, my mom shouldn't be here. It's a little far from home, and that'll be the giveaway. But sometimes that doesn't happen. I have no clue. Like yesterday I woke up and I texted Kat and I'm like, okay, I had a dream. It woke me up. I have no idea what the dream was. I know it was reality based, but I cannot recall it. So if I bring up anything that never happened, that's probably what woke me up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something common, but the freakiest is the soup.
The soup one. Yeah.
Especially because you could have prevented my injury.
Yeah, that's whoopsie-daisy. But recently, the past few weeks, I've had a couple of like weird dreams. Yeah. Which is weird because I used to get them a lot. They used to be a mix of like reality-based dreams and weird dreams. And back before, my reality-based dreams usually had a lot of tells. Yeah. A lot of the time they were like mundane, but there was something kind of off about them. And then when I started taking sertraline, my dreams got really, really vivid and like sleep paralysis and awful. But then when I went off that and was on this new medication, that's where my dreams, I either don't dream or they are real. And I haven't had any, like, I've had very, very few weird dreams. I have had more weird dreams in the past 2 weeks than I probably have in the past 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I've always, my whole life, had really weird dreams. Really weird dreams.
Even my sleep paralysis demons, they're not even fucking they're people that I know. They're real people that just come in to my room and just like talk to me, and I just can't say anything back. Everyone talks about sleep paralysis demons. They're like, oh, it's this big black shadow monster or whatever. And I'm like, mine's like my ex. I don't, that's my sleep paralysis demon. Or it's like a friend who comes in and just starts yelling at me and saying shit, and I can't move or say anything. And that's my sleep paralysis.
That's awful. I'm so sorry. It's awful. Yeah. No. My problem is my fears relate to real life in terms of I get scared of things that have traumatized me in my dreams, aka rabies. Yeah. No, I have such weird, strange dreams that revolve usually around things that they're usually things that I've watched, like TV shows I've watched recently, or like music I've listened to, or anything like that. Like when I listen to Side Effects for the first time, or watch the video for Side Effects way back. Honestly, this might have contributed to my dislike of the song when I first heard it. But I dreamt of a bus, like for a week, like being stuck on a bus.
All right, interesting.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, that could have
aided.
It could have aided.
And why you didn't like the song until you got taste.
Till I became educated.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, it, like, the longest running one is Over the Hedge. I hate Over the Hedge. Stupid movie. But yeah, and then like Lilo and Stitch is the one I get a lot.
Coraline. Oh, fuck. I used to love that movie.
I've never finished it. As soon as it gets to the lady growing the spider legs. Oh.
Honestly, that's where I stopped it most of the time. I've only watched it all the way through like twice, and I don't remember it all, but I did stop most of the time when it got too scary. As soon as she
tries to take her eyes and turns into the spider lady, I'm out.
That's as far as I remember the movie. That is usually where I stopped it.
No, that's not.
Watch that be like the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
The reason I liked Coraline was because it was one of the movies that came with 3D glasses.
Valid. And
I thought it was so cool. Sharkboy and Lava Girl and Coraline were great because they came with the 3D glasses, and I loved that.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I remember just watching Coraline with my dad, I think. And I just remember I was like, no, I'm not finishing this.
It's valid.
Absolutely not. And then it keeps being on, whenever we went to like the warehouse and stuff, it was on the like display
It was
TVs.
A really big movie. It was
always
at the
on
time.
the display TVs, and I was always like, why the fuck are you showing me this? I hate this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My weird dreams have only started when we started watching The Last of Us.
See, that was where this conversation was going. I haven't had any Last of Us dreams.
See, that's so interesting. It's funny though, because like we were talking about this yesterday when we watched it, of like there's barely been any zombies actually in the show. There's very few of them. It's mainly revolves around people. Yeah. And that's the same in my dreams that I have about it, is that there's not usually any like zombies, or it's not even related so much to it, but it's like fighting like people like fascism and stuff.
Yeah. Last of Us is so good.
Except last night was even weirder. It wasn't even related to it. The only weird dreams I've been having have been after watching The Last of Us. But last night it wasn't even related to the show.
It just triggered something in your brain.
It just triggered something in my brain.
Yeah.
And
was it gay?
No, it was I had like a house. Like it was like 3 houses. It was like on a lake. And then the house like collapsed and turned into one big house. And then that house collapsed. I was with you, and we had to run somewhere into like the jungle and through these like thorns. And then we were in this little like dome thing with this glowy purple thing. And then we went into the glowy purple thing. I had to fight a bunch of like superhero, supervillain type people, and I could like shoot lightning.
Like,
no, not like
Palpatine?
Not like that.
Okay.
It was more like in a video game of like
right.
Kinda,
Yeah.
And then I defeated all of them. Super easy. Nice. But then this like big purple fucking cloud came out, and they were like, it was like I said, it was like a woman, but it wasn't. It was just a big purple like fucking cloud with arms that was like laughing and screaming, being like, haha, you can't beat me, I'm too powerful. And then we're like shooting me, and I was like trying to like shoot my lightning, and it's like that did nothing. So I just ran away, and I was running, and I don't know where it came from, but at some point my brain decided the way to get out is to swallow that purple cloud over there. So then I was running towards the cloud, and it went and then I woke up.
Nice. That does sound like one of my dreams.
I swallowed the cloud. I won.
Yeah. One of my things that I always found in my dreams that is so fucking strange is they're kind of like lucid in the way of I'm very much aware the entire way through that I am dreaming. I have thoughts, I have feelings. I know that everything I'm experiencing is not real. It's a dream. I am awake essentially in those dreams, and I can make decisions and choices and choose where to go, and things just pop around on what decisions I make. But I always do this thing where I have like semi-control over the actual dreams itself. Like I can choose where I want to go, I can choose what I say, I can choose what I do. But whenever I'm like fighting someone or like something bad's gonna happen, I do it like I'm a kid in a game where, like, say a lion is coming towards me, and then I'll be like, no, I have, like, something to fight it away. And then there is a moment in my dream where people are like, no, you don't. And then I'm like, no, I do. Like I have a bat, and I want it to appear in my hand, and then I can fight the lion away. And then the lion is like, no, you don't. And I'm like, yes, I do. Here. And then I whack it, and then it happens.
I feel like you may have some internal stuff of people have always told you can't do what you want to do.
What?
And you question your decisions.
What?
Maybe.
Huh?
Maybe we should look into that a little bit. Maybe I've come up with some fun exposure task exercises right in these past 3 seconds.
This is why I don't like sharing my dreams.
Kat shares my dreams, and I come up with solutions.
I don't like sharing my dreams.
See, this is the thing of like, it's so funny because like your dreams make a lot less sense, but are somehow easier to comprehend. Like I was talking to my therapist about this. I was like, I've had dreams recently for the first time in ages, and she was like, okay, I'm gonna ask you what your dream was. I'm like, oh, I was in therapy. She's like, what happened in your dream? I'm like, oh, I was in therapy and I just sat down and told you a full trauma timeline. She's like, usually when I ask that question, they say like I was skiing in custard. And I was like, no, I just sat down and I just like went through everything. And then I was having like PTSD flashbacks in my dream. And she's like, jokingly, she's like, well, did I look good? And I was like,
I love your therapist, man.
And then she was like, okay, I know I haven't explicitly asked you your entire trauma timeline, but right now, if you want to share anything, you can. No pressure. And I was like, no, I just... but it's harder to unpack, right? Because if I'm
it's both harder and easier.
Yeah.
You know exactly what you want to talk about in the dream.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like I woke up and it's like I had a conversation with my therapist about a trauma timeline. Maybe that means I want to sit down and talk about my trauma timeline with my therapist, but maybe I don't want to do that.
It's less about what you want or what you need to do and more like this is what's on your mind at this
exactly.
time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like someone try to analyze the dream where Kat and I had a conversation about a fucking blender. That has no meaning. Why did my brain do that?
You have fucking time.
I told you about this, right? When I was in debate club, that dream I had. Yeah. Okay. There was a period of time when I was a teenager, and I guess this was a continuation of that, where I would dream something and then it would fucking happen.
You're fucking psychic.
It happened. I started to get like genuinely fucking terrified because it was a period of a few months where literally everything I dreamed happened. Like the most memorable one, I don't remember what most of them were, but the most memorable one was I was coming out of debate club after like a debate at this school, and we were walking through the car park and this red car pulled out and nearly fucking hit me. And then, and that was the dream. And then the next week when we were leaving debate club, I was standing there and I was like, okay, wait. I've seen this exact thing before. And then this fucking red car pulled out right in front of me and I was like, what the fuck?
I'm telling you, you're a fucking psychic, man.
It's weird.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
You freak me out sometimes.
Same.
As long as the dreams about the witches and stuff don't come true, that's fine.
My favorite dream, actually, that hasn't entirely come true was when I dreamed we were at a Stray Kids concert at Barrier and then Backdoor came on and I passed out and woke up.
That's so funny. You're in a Stray Kids concert and you heard your backdoor and you were like, no, that's not too unrealistic.
Yeah, that's genuinely what happened. We were at a Stray Kids concert and they started doing backdoor and my brain was like, no, that's not real. And then I woke up. That's too unrealistic. That would never fucking happen. And I woke up before they could do it.
I love that for you.
It's so funny.
It's so funny. Yeah, we've been thinking about doing a podcast that's like, I write down 3 dreams. Mm-hmm. And one of them is a lie, and you have to guess which one is a lie. But I have to prepare that because I can't do that off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
Yeah,
I'll try to do it as well, but I'll have to decipher between dreams and reality.
Yeah. What's 2 conversations you dreamt and what's one or 2 conversations that we really had and one that you dreamt up?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love... Yeah, my whole life I've had like memories that I like will recall to my mom. She's like, that didn't fucking happen. That didn't. Except that one that I had, the recurring dream about this maze with a slide in the middle. Yeah. Came up in my dreams all the time. Went with my grandma and my sister and my parents and we went through this maze that had a slide in the middle. And I dreamt it all the time from the age of like 6 until I was 19. And then one time... me and my sister, we were in London and I mentioned it to her and she's like, I have that same exact dream. And I was like, hold the fuck up. Hold on. Because I had recalled this dream to my mom. I'm like, is this place real? Mom's like, no, that's not a place we've ever been. Apparently Kiara had also done the same thing. And then we talked and we were like, we've both been having this same dream for years. So then, and we remembered where it was. It was like Taupo or Rotorua kind of area. And so we both were like, then we're like on a mission. We're like, we have to find this place. And we spent an hour like deep diving on the internet and Googling it. And then we found it. It's closed down. Doesn't exist anymore. But we found it. We found these old reviews on TripAdvisor. We showed the photo and we're like, this place, this. And then we called my mom and yelled at her.
Valid.
Neither of us have ever had the dream ever again.
It's just your brain was telling you. I'm telling you that it was a calling to go to the place and save someone and you failed. It took too long.
I don't understand why? I don't know. Why did we dream about that place?
I know. Must have been important to you.
It's the first time I got a hole-in-one in mini golf.
Ah, that must be why.
But why did Kiara have that dream then?
She was so upset about losing to you because of a hole-in-one in mini golf.
She was like 2.
Yeah, I'd be pissed about that too.
Yeah,
I had to get it.
I hate you. Anyway. We talked, the dreams were not at all meant. Do we ever stay on topic?
No.
We've never once ever stayed on topic, ever.
Yeah.
But yeah. We're going to Paris on Tuesday. Monday. We're going to Paris on Monday.
Yeah, we are. I'm really excited.
Same, I'm so excited. We're not going for concerts. We're going for work purposes. Tax people. We're going to vlog for Patreon.
Yes, we are. So if you want to
see our fun vlogs of Paris, patreon.com/SavvyCat. Yeah. And there just happens to be a concert there at the same time.
I'm very intrigued to see how much French you know. We had a whole French conversation the other day, so it'd be good to...
I've learnt French for so long and I don't remember.
Okay, we'll do a test. We'll do a test.
I remember... No, don't test my French. Listen,
I'm going to test you.
I learnt French from the age of 5 to 9 and then I stopped because I didn't have time. And then I learnt French all through high school. So from 13 to 17, until right before my 17th birthday. And then that was 6 years ago now. And I did nothing. I started Duolingo 50 days ago to try to refresh. So...
Okay. How do you say I want 6 shots of espresso over ice?
See, you've put pressure on me. Je veux. I don't know how to say shot. Je veux 6 espresso. 6
espresso.
I'm assuming that the word for espresso is espresso. Oh, my camera's about to die now. What is shot? I don't know the word for shot.
Would you like Google Translate?
Yeah, go for, but you'll have to specify a shot of espresso. I usually just Google shot of espresso because otherwise Google Translate might give you like a weird.
Coup de espresso.
That's coup? Because like coup de main is sleight of hand. So that's weird.
Oh, that's what Google says.
Yeah?
So fuck you.
It might be correct.
And I'll compare you to. Okay. Tell me
I guess un café avec 6 espresso might work. A coffee with 6 espresso? I don't know.
Valid. This is what it says.
I like, je veux 6 shots d'espresso. Also, see, here's the thing is I learned glass as ice cream.
Oh, I shouldn't say that.
There might be an accent on it for ice cream, or maybe I don't know, but I learned glass for ice cream.
Valid.
Not ice.
Then I won't say that. Or
an affogato. You want an affogato.
Yeah. It was 6 espresso shots.
That would just be a puddle. That's just an ice latte at that point. Because the ice cream would melt. Yeah. And then it's just an ice latte.
With the sugar in it. What if it's chocolate ice cream?
Then it's an iced mocha. I respect it.
I've solved my problem.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get the tub of ice cream in our freezer, put it underneath the coffee machine, and just press the espresso button.
I wish you
mix it together.
All of the luck in your endeavor there.
Thank you.
So I don't know how to. I can say I want a coffee with milk.
That's not what I want. I want 6 shots of espresso over ice. How do you say?
Also, people don't have the context of that. That was all in the bonus podcast.
Well, then they should watch the bonus podcast, which is if you know, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's the next sentence you want? Let's see. I'm fluent, obviously.
Who is your bias in Stray Kids?
See, I'm doing the direct translation of like qui préfère en Stray Kids? Qui...
No, I want Stray Kids. No, translate Stray Kids first.
Enfant is kids. I don't know the word for stray.
That sounds like you need to learn this.
Also, what's person? Why have I forgotten the word for person? I don't remember the word for person. Homme? That's man.
Yeah, that works too.
That's true. Qui homme te préfère en stray enfant? We're going to an ATEEZ concert. Surely ATEEZ would be the...
Yeah. What about...
I'm going to look so... And this is so embarrassing to anyone who's watching this who speaks French, especially because my accent right now is really off. I'm usually very good at my pronunciation. I was the best at speech, but I am under pressure and I'm being put on the spot. Leave me alone.
What about... I'm doing this for the girls and the gays.
Je fais ça pour la femme et la gay. Et les gays. Les femmes et les gays. Gay. Les gays. Des gay? No, les gays.
Perfect.
There we go. I did it, I think.
That's all we need.
Great.
That's all we need. Ever.
And Ouyang est mon petit ami.
No. No.
Hongjung est très très beau.
Oui.
Et il est mon petit ami.
No.
Okay, sorry. Il est mon mari. See, I know the important things. You don't know how to spell it, so I don't know how you think you're going to get a translation for it. Unless you're typing what you think it is, which is possibly what you're doing. You got it?
Is it husband?
Maybe.
Disgusting.
It's so funny when I don't know, because language is all stored in the same part of my brain. Like before, when you were like, who? My brain went, Nugu. That's not the right language.
I do that all the fucking time. I re-downloaded Duolingo to try and learn, refresh on my Japanese. But the only language that's coming to my head is fucking German. I don't want German.
Yeah.
It should be Korean.
Yeah.
But no, it's German.
I respect it, though.
It's the least helpful language in this situation.
It's the same as like occasionally, because I learned Korean at uni for a semester, right? So when I don't know a word in Korean, I fill it in with French. And if I don't know a word in French, I fill it in with Korean. And it's funny because I know very limited words in both languages. Yeah. And I know sometimes, like, I know the word for who in French. So why did my brain go, Nugu? What? That's...
Yeah.
When you said no the other day, you messaged me because we were speaking in French using largely Google Translate. But I went, instead of saying no, I typed out ani, and I was like, that's not the right word.
I respect that so heavily. When we were practicing Korean like last year, I, without realizing, because I was thinking and I wasn't looking where I was typing really, which I don't know why I was doing that, because the Korean keyboard on your phone is very much Korean letters. Yeah. Right. So I don't know why I thought I was typing in Korean when I wasn't looking at the keyboard, but I typed the whole thing out in Japanese because I was like, because the Japanese keyboard is Romanized letters into like hiragana. I don't know why I thought I was doing what I was supposed to do, but I was typing without looking because I was thinking of what I was trying to say. And then I looked out and it was completely the wrong language. Completely wrong.
And it wouldn't have made any sense.
No.
It's so funny. Yeah. It's so funny because like learning multiple languages makes you realize entirely why bilingual people like switch in and out of languages because it is all stored in the same place. Like if I was fluent in 2 foreign languages, like I'm not even fluent and I already switch between them.
Yeah.
So I totally get people who are bilingual just like accidentally switching. I remember that one Tumblr post being like, I'm fluent in 5 languages and I went into Starbucks. Tell me why I spoke the complete wrong language. I didn't know what I was saying and I did.
The amount of times I used it when I first moved to Germany from Japan, the amount of times I asked for something in Japanese and the poor fucking like waiter who was serving me was like, I don't know how to deal with this situation. And I'd just be looking at him like, why didn't you understand what I'm saying? Because I thought I was speaking German and I spoke Japanese to him and he was like, I don't know what to do here. And I was like, oh shit, sorry. And then I had to resort to English because I was too petrified to start speaking German to him.
This is the thing of like, because I speak a little bit of French. When I first went to France, I spoke very good conversational French because I'd been studying it for a long time, doing like 24 hours a week kind of thing. And like, but I didn't because I was like, what if I'm wrong? It's so embarrassing. Yeah. It's so funny because like people appreciate if you just try, but I get petrified that I'm going to do it wrong.
Yeah.
So it's like, I am fine with them speaking French to me. I understand a lot more than I can speak. I can read it and understand enough from context. Yeah. And if they speak to me slowly, I can gather a lot of what they're trying to say to me. But I can't speak back.
No. Yeah, no, the only reason why I was really good at conversational Japanese, don't ask me to do it now, because I attended 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Like a Japanese learning school, which was basically 100% Japanese all the time.
Yeah.
For like 6 months, every week. And I got really good at it, to the point where I was very confident in doing it. As confident as I was speaking in English, which wasn't very confident in any social situation. But I was really good at it. And then as soon as I left, it all just evaporated from my mind because I had no one to talk to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which sucks. It breaks my heart because I really like the language.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like my parents putting me in French classes when I was a kid because they wanted me to be fluent, but I only went like once a week and no one in my life spoke French. So I don't know how they expected me to be fluent. They're like, we want her to know 2 languages. And I think it was French because my grandma was French. So, but they don't know how to speak. I don't know what they expected from me. No. Where am I meant to practice? An hour a week is not enough.
Yeah. My thing is like, if I ever had a kid, I would want them to
know a language.
Just to know a language because it's a really fucking useful skill to know. If a child knows a second language when they're a kid, they're much, much easier off learning another language as an adult. Yeah. So already that's a skill that you need to learn as a kid, I think. But I would learn it with them. As best as I can. Yeah. To try and help them. Yeah. Yeah.
I find it interesting as well of like, I notice every time I go to relearn French, the stuff I remember is all the stuff I learned when I was a kid. Yeah. Like most of the stuff I learned at school, which is more advanced stuff, is stuff that I've like forgotten a lot. But like when I went to school to do it in year 9, I knew everything we did because it's all the stuff that I learned when I was like 5. Yeah. I used to speak a lot more when I was a kid. I did pick up on it a lot easier, so I could read like whole stories and stuff. But like, yeah, a majority, like the colors, foods, numbers, all of that I've held on to my entire life. I've never forgotten any of that. I knew all of it. I still know all of it. And that's the stuff that I learned when I was like 5. Yeah. The stuff I learned when I was like 16, I remember nothing.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, when you're a kid, you're already learning whatever your first language is. Like you're learning that as a language as is. Mm-hmm. So you're going to pick up any other language that comes across because all of it is new. Yeah. It's all one big new thing. So you're much easier and better at picking up anything that you come across.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas when you spend a long time learning one language and then you try and learn when you're like 15 another language, it doesn't work.
Because you already have rules and stuff in your head of what words are and you have a well-established understanding of it. Yeah.
And you'd have to dedicate a lot of time to practicing, let alone, we're 23 or 23, 22, because I'm young and youthful and you're old and it's sad. I have 1 month to say that. It's much harder. Yeah. Much harder. And it sucks. And I wish I could retain that knowledge.
I like seeing the bilingual families and stuff of like one parent, one language. I've seen a lot of it on TikTok as like an English mother and a French father. And it's like the mom only speaks in English, the dad only speaks in French. And like, I find that very interesting. They both parents speak both languages.
Yeah, I would assume so.
And like the kids go to like a French school because they live in France, but they only speak English to their mom. They only speak French to their dad. And so at home, mom only speaks English and dad only speaks French.
That's quite a good way to do that because it also helps, if you do you'd stick to one language for convenience sake. Yeah. But I just want to know the conversations of like the mom talking to the dad at like the dinner table and everybody's answering in a different language, but they all understand what's happening.
Yeah. 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 I think it's really interesting.
It's fascinating.
I've seen a bunch of them come up. I saw another one yesterday that was, Spanish father, English mother. And they do like practice of like mom will like ask the kids something in question. Like she asked her kid like, can you ask dad what he wants for dinner? And then they would go and ask their dad, what do you want for dinner in Spanish? And he would answer in Spanish and they go back and say the answer to their mom in English.
That's brilliant. That's such a good way to do that. Yeah. That's so clever. Yeah. It would be, I'm assuming they'd break it for like, they wouldn't be like, hi, mom, I broke my leg. Sorry, that's the wrong language.
That's the wrong language? I don't understand you. Or like out in public if they're like talking to friends or whatever, it's going to be in whatever language they speak. Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was really cool. And I thought that was a really good way to do it because I know a lot of people who are like, bilingual and they want their kids to be bilingual. But when they start going to school, they stop speaking the other language. Like I know a lot of like Spanish kids who understand Spanish, but they won't speak it because they don't speak it at school. Yeah. And it's not like enforced at home, which it technically shouldn't be. But I think it's cool to have one parent do one language and one parent do a different one.
It's just practice. Yeah. Yeah. And it's good to know multiple languages. Yeah. Anyway, with that, we should wrap this up.
Yes, we should.
Thank you for coming to our podcast that didn't make any fucking topical sense.
None at all. We're really good at it. We're so good at podcasting.
Thank you so much to our patrons.
We love and appreciate you very much. Thank you. If you want to join, you can go to patreon.com/SavvyCat. We do a lot of fun stuff over there. Like today, we're going to go home and open photo cards on a live stream. We bought 75 random Stray Kids photo cards. We have no idea what they are.
And they could be a very bad outcome.
There could be a bad outcome that we hadn't considered when we bought them.
So that'll be on there.
Yeah, that'll be on Patreon.
We re-upload or like keep them.
Yeah, we keep all of our lives up.
So if you want to see them, they will still be there.
Yeah.
They just won't be live at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
See ya.
Bye.